Hi, Mark Small. This is still Discourse Now. It is December 5th,
Eh,
2024. And with me today is Cassie Jackson. Cassie, what's happening?
Hi, good to see you again, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. It's always fun, especially in these waning days of the United States Republic. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day that we've got the national problem of fascism, but we also have our local Christo fascists,
Mhm.
especially Micah Beckwith. And some people don't realize how bad he is. And really, he's inconsequential in a lot of ways. And have you run into that? People thinking, well, he's just going for lieutenant governor. He's nothing.
Yeah, I think that that's what a lot of people are trying to like minimize, his role, and we'll get into that, which, um, I think that what some people are having trouble with is just that Micah has this professional role where he may not get to do a lot of stuff, but he also has this backing of these Christian nationalists who are very passionate and are willing to like do his dirty work. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd stop. I mean, I need to stop just description of some of those people as passionate because, for example, and I don't think that this comparison is inaccurate. If I were looking at World War II and the years leading up to it with Hitler's rise to power, I wouldn't say Hitler was passionate.
Yeah, no, he was pathological and very angry.
Yeah, and so some of the people, are like they cover for Beckwith an awful lot because he's a coward and he will
Yeah.
not argue with people. So let's go to Beckwith has a whole laundry list of things that he said as far back as June 2023 that he wanted to accomplish as lieutenant governor.
Hmm.
And really a bunch of the things were not described in any statute or the Constitution. And instead, those were things that Governor Holcomb had assigned by executive order to Suzanne Crouch, who's the lieutenant governor of Indiana.
Hmm.
And once Beckwith, it became obvious what was going on with Beckwith, and then the election happened. A lot of those things were pulled away from Beckwith because, even Mike Braun, who's the governor-elect,
Hmm.
didn't want to give anything to Beckwith. So when
Yeah,
you
the only
get,
two. Mhm, go ahead.
go ahead.
The only two things that he has right now that are still under his control, right, are agriculture and the Office of Rural and Community Affairs, which I don't know if people even know what that would entail. But yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to note that.
Oh no, it's quite all right. He also, well, the agriculture is like equivalent to the Secretary of Agriculture in this state, and it's referred to as such. But they're pairing off anything that he has there as far as any authority. And a couple of months ago, when he said that he was going to fire anybody who used pronouns to describe themselves, at that point he had 2,000 employees that were going to be under his direction within
Right.
the Indiana executive branch. And somebody jumped on me on Facebook and said, well, he can't hire or fire anybody. And I said, actually, he can.
Mhm.
And now it went from 2,000 to 70 people, not
Of it, yeah.
2,000. And
Hmm.
so he's kind of, I don't know, losing a lot of the vigor in
Yeah,
his
what that
job.
means, what that says to me is that his own party has concern with him touching anything. And I don't, and I when I'm by touching it, I don't even mean like professionally running it. I mean speaking to it, speaking about it, speaking on behalf of. Like they don't want him speaking on behalf of the party, and so the fewer things they can do to make that happen, they have already enacted. I think that's why also we see Beckwith having such a strong reaction and being so angry about other areas where he's also being told, like, why are you going into schools, right? Or having such an obsession with wanting to go into schools. I think that's why we're seeing him really push hard on that. He's losing control of things. And I did a video, and I'm not going too far off track, on his mental health, where when Beckwith gets in a position where he feels like he is not important or not being taken seriously, and even made fun of, right? And that comes with his big ego in terms of getting powers taken away from him. You're going to see a lot of emotional dysregulation in him and acting out. And I think that's what's going on right now.
Well, I mean, and when you start picking off the things that have been there that can be picked off, it gets down to those the things that you mentioned just then. Rural development and Department of Agriculture, those are by statute, but Indiana's Constitution provides that it's Article 5, which is the executive branch, Section 21. It's got functions and duties of Lieutenant Governor. The Lieutenant Governor shall, by virtue of his office, be President of the Senate, have a right when in committee of the whole to join in debate and to vote on all subjects, and whenever the Senate shall be equally divided, he shall cast give the casting vote. Okay, here's the thing. President of the Senate means that he presides over it, and he can recognize people to speak. He can set time limits on what people are going to say. That's all standard. And he wasn't even allowed to pick his own parliamentarian, from what I understand. And that's really important, because he's going to have to make some rulings from the chair that people are going to disagree with. And he has to have somebody there who can tell him something about parliamentary procedure, because I doubt if he knows anything about it at all or how to spell it. But the other part is this. Another part. Anybody that disagrees with a ruling from the chair can move to appeal the decision of the chair. That is a constant in parliamentary proceedings, just so you know. I was in
That mean that
Congress.
they could move to remove Beckwith? Is that what you're trying to get at?
No. Move to appeal the decision of the chair if he makes a ruling.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. And it can go to as much as, I'm not going to recognize you, move to appeal the decision of the chair. And then they say, yes, there goes any authority he has on that one. But here's another part. And I'm saying this on parliamentary procedure because, one, I was in student Congress in high school. Two, I was in student Congress at Nationals my first year at DePauw. Nationals were University of Massachusetts Amherst. I was Speaker of the House at student congresses at DePauw University and University of Illinois. I kind of know those things. I used parliamentary procedure when I was student body president at DePauw. I kind of know the groundwork. So here's the other part. When it says that he is, when sitting, he shall have a right when the committee of the whole is in parliamentary procedures, when the entire body of the Senate is sitting there to meet, and no final decision can be made by the Senate when voting as a committee of the whole. That's how the framers of the Constitution conducted a lot of their proceedings. Beckwith wouldn't know about that because he doesn't know constitutional history. But they met as a committee of the whole, so when they'd vote on something, it wasn't finalized. And then they could make changes with other things, and then within 3 months, they came up with the final product of the Constitution. But he might not realize that when it's sitting as a committee of the whole, he can't chair it. He can argue, you step down literally from the chair and take a position on the floor to speak. And then you resume the chair once the committee of the whole has voted, being in the Senate, on a preliminary matter. So he doesn't probably know all this stuff, but that's in here in the Indiana Constitution. And so then the only other thing that he has is to assume the office and duties of the governor in the event of the governor's disability or death.
Right. And
No, go ahead.
Well, I think that comes back to, and people can joke all they want about that. I think Mr. Bunn needs to be very careful with his life, and particularly when he's dealing with someone like Mr. Beckwith, who I'll review very quickly that Mr. Beckwith was born and raised in Hillsdale, Michigan. That's where the Heritage Foundation is. The Heritage Foundation wrote Project 2025, and now those are the leaders that are going to be in the presidency, and et cetera, et cetera. So if Braun does not take seriously the connections that Micah has with the larger Christian nationalist movement and who he might know and why he's acting and speaking so in such an emboldened way, is because I think that he knows people that Braun does not know that are trying to, do things that are going to be funny. It makes me very anxious for Mr. Braun personally. Let me just put it that way.
Well, and also I think that the Braun should have a part of his budget set aside for people to sample his food before he tastes any. And then if one of them goes down dead, he knows that something was in it. They should not allow any bananas in the State House, because those banana peels can be dropped on a stairwell and slip, fall, all that stuff. And Braun's 70. He's not a spring chicken.
Right,
right. And so, okay, Cassie, it has been fun talking with you today about this.
Thanks for all the info. That was helpful.
Yeah, and anybody remember follow Cassie Jackson on Facebook. We'll be back in a little while with the next episode of Civil Discourse Now.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.